The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Whether you're new to sales or a lifetime veteran, the Blackbelt Sales Podcast will sharpen your sword and guide you to master the art of sales. And now, here's your host, the ninja himself, Gene Slade.
Good morning, Gene.
Good morning, Don. Hey, guys. Thanks for tuning in today for another episode of the Blackbelt Sales Podcast. If you're watching us live, will you please just type live down in the comments? If you're watching us on a replay, please type replay in the comments. I know it gets repetitive, but if you're tuning in to watch the show, that's the payment that we ask for. Also, if you are listening to us on, say, Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of the other wonderful platforms that we're on, after the show, if you wouldn't mind going over and giving the show a review, man, that would mean a lot to us. So, Don, today we're talking about 1%ers or 2%ers. We're also going to talk about how to reset ourselves when things are not going right on a sales call, because really it's all about what's going on between these two ears that affects the outcome of your calls. So let's start out with the first one. Before we do that, I'm going to kind of feed Don into this, or I'm going to kind of throw him a layup here, if you will. But guys, when we go out and we visit with customers, do we or do we not see patterns everywhere? Let's just take, for instance, what customers typically say to you when they don't buy. Are there patterns? Is it the same in Washington as it is in Michigan? Is it the same in Texas as it is in Florida? I don't know. You tell me, because these are the top 3 objections we get in Florida, and I also got in Michigan. It would be, I want to think about it. I got to talk to my spouse. My price is too high, right? Aren't those typically the top 3 objections? If they are, put yes down in the comments. If that's what you normally get as your top 3, I want to think about it. I got to talk to my spouse, and I need to get other prices, or your price is too high. Those are patterns that we see every single day. And if we're not preparing for those patterns, if we don't have a predictable way to handle those, then we're going to be in trouble. We're going to find ourselves in trouble. So you see the same patterns everywhere, but one place where you typically get a pattern break is in the 2%ers. So Don, tell me, what's a 2%er?
Yeah, that 2%er, it just refers to our slang that just the oddball call, the one you're going to come across once every weird, millennia, that type deal, once every month, every 3 months, the oddball call. And sometimes we get so beat up by that one call that we think we start self-doubt, and then we start checking ourselves, and then we start saying, I'm not prepared, or I need to find another training class to go to, or I need to know how to handle, I've got to, this one-off type scenario that just you're not going to occur. We train for the ones that you will hit or occur all the time or in those patterns. And the ones that are outside that pattern, you just customize, you take your skill set, you work with it, and then you move on, and you just don't let it affect the rest of you. But oftentimes the questions that come in are for the oddball situations, the 1% or 2%ers, and it becomes difficult because you become kind of that chasing the rabbit. The rabbit just runs all over the place rather than you staying in control of the situation. So you typically don't catch the rabbit by chasing it. You have to get it to come to you, and that's staying with your process. So it gets frustrating because somebody hits you with something out of left field, and you're thinking, "Dang, Gene, you never told me this was going to be what I would have to deal with." It's a 1%er. Make the most of it. Go for it. Use your skill set, and just put it out of your head after that point. So that's a 1%. It's just not going to occur very often.
Yeah, here's the for instance. Let's give him a for instance about what we dealt with in training this morning. So we had a guy who went out to this gentleman's house, who was a retired 67-year-old engineer who had been involved in over $1 billion worth of products. And heck, he might have even been a buyer in addition to an engineer. If you guys know what a buyer is, he sounded a little bit like a buyer. But it's been very common now for what, 20, 30 years, Don, for everyone to use what's called flat rate pricing. Is that a good estimate, 20, 30 years?
Yes. It was the theme 20 years ago when I started my company. It was talked about quite a bit. It was the upcoming item. So yes, flat rate is 20 plus years old.
And prior to that time, what was very common for contractors to do was use a time and material type of way to charge. And in these times when there was time and material, typically what would happen is a technician would go out to a customer's house, they'd figure out what a problem was, and then they would head to the supply house for some parts. Right? This was back before most companies were stocking as much as they possibly could on a vehicle. We call them rolling warehouses on wheels, right? I modeled that from Airtime 500, right? That's what they used to say. They're rolling warehouses on wheels. And then over time, business people got smarter. Some of the private coaching groups taught people how to kind of take all of the tasks that they've done in a year and divide them by the number of tasks and the revenue and everything, and come up with a price to just go do something without having to run around from place to place. Well, a lot of people were still, that are from that time. Well, not a lot of people, but some people from that time still want you to break things down. And that's what this guy did to me. He was like, no, I'm not paying a flat rate for anything. I'm going to pay time and material. So break out how many hours, break out the material, show me all of this and this and this. Like, again, it's a 1%er, right? Right. This does not happen 98, 99% of the time. It happens 1 or 2 out of 100 times. And what we've always taught is that we don't coach or train for the 2%ers. We can spend some time on it if you want, but like, if it's only going to happen 1 or 2% of the time, should we or should we not be practicing for the 98%? And I think that's what Don's really getting at here. When you get that one that torques you or messes you up, let it go. Just let it go. Yes or no?
Exactly. Stay with your process, no matter what your process is. You run the call. You're the professional. You handle it your way. Are you really going to go to your doctor and tell him how he's going to perform the surgery? That's just not the way it works. Will there be people that'll do that? Probably. And will that doctor probably say, I'm not performing surgery on you, right? Sometimes you have to walk away from a call that's a 1 or 2%er. Even though your company might say, oh, we got to do something on every call, please everybody. It's very difficult to please everybody. To please everybody. So all that being part of the process,
you will definitely be displeased yourself. Yeah. If you do try to please everybody, you'll definitely be displeased yourself, right? I talked over you.
No, you're great. So the big part of it is be true to yourself. Be true to yourself, meaning stay with your process. Reset. How do you, when someone just gets you so frustrated that you want to choke them right there in the call and turn it around? And we talked about that in training. Sometimes you just have to go outside, take a minute, reset, say whatever you have to say to yourself. Again, maybe it's a little conversation with yourself. Maybe it's go back to your affirmations, which would be part of mine. Everybody trusts me. Everybody buys from me. Everybody trusts me. Everybody buys from me. And just start the process over. And you had a good way of saying it as well. How did you say it today?
So I'll share the mental cleansing exercise with them. And first, I'm going to ask you to, if you're watching this live, to put live down in the comments. All right. And if you're watching it on a replay, put replay down in the comments for me. Guys, that's just going to reset our Facebook algorithm and help it for Facebook to show this to more people. So I appreciate in advance you doing that and helping us out. So if things are not going well on a call, I truly believe and was taught that clients typically feel worse about it than you do. think about it. We're working in their home. We're going to go to 3 more homes that day potentially, just because, 25% of our day got messed up. I think the client is actually more dissatisfied that things are going wrong. So if things are going wrong between you and the client,
it's
if you've got the
100% of their calls that they had into their.
exactly, and
It's
I
100% of their
found,
calls. So
I found that a lot of times, Don, I don't know about you, but I found that it's usually the high C and the disc profile, the engineers, the accountants that typically tend to be some of the 1 and 2 percenters. What do you think?
you would certainly believe that the engineer, the person who wants tons of details, and you typically believe they reside in the engineer and the accounting fields that want those. But again, we judge calls, and this was another topic we've had. And you can judge a call. Just stay with your process. Just stay with the process. And part of that high C or whatever is they believe what they believe, meaning they're very strong internally. They believe, they have their own belief, they're confident. You have to work on get them to come to their own conclusion.
Right.
The idea that you can tell them nothing, but you can lead them to come to their own conclusion is extremely powerful. So
with the right
questions, those high C engineer, accounting, CPA type people learn to trust you or feel comfortable with you, they become very, very loyal. They are you're their guy. You're their guy. And that's a big part of that. And it's because very few people get past their filter because they all run screaming, and so you've got an opportunity if you want to play. But again, it's a difficult situation. It's hard to plan, and every engineer, every accountant may be just a little different. So there's not a script that you can take and just go for it. You go back to your basics, you reset the call, and you tell them nothing and let them feel like they're in control with asking the questions. It's so huge, the getting people to come to their own conclusion that they want indoor air quality and they want a Breathe Easy package and they want clean water in their home for their children to bathe in or to cook the food that their family eats in clean water. But you tell them you don't want to feed your family with that water, or you don't want to make them drink that water. They're going to be like, watch me. I grew up where we drank out of the hose pipe outside in the summer and didn't kill me. Yeah. It didn't kill me. And they're going to try to show you, prove you wrong. People will prove themselves right, but they're trying to prove other people wrong. They'll try to prove you wrong. Well, let it become their idea. Just a part of the questioning part of it. But we're talking about the 1 or 2 percenter here. How do we reset? Again, maybe it's your affirmation. Every day in every way, I get luckier and happier. If you want to have better calls, give you an affirmation that says, I am so lucky I get all the good calls at my company. Another great day because I'm so lucky I get all the great calls at my company. We see what we think, that what we see in our head. We judge the calls, but we get what we expect. And if we expect to get great calls, we'll find that. I love the story when guys will say, I had this great sale, but it was really a layup, and you're like, it was a layup because you trained so well for it that you were prepared for it. It wasn't a layup until you had shot all those practice shots and all that practice scripting and all those hours of training that you did. But people like, it was just a layup. No, it was opportunity met your preparation. That's what luck is. An opportunity meets preparation. So when you run across those tough ones, don't let it affect the rest of your day. The next call, go back to basics. If you find yourself in a funk, in a rut, and I hear that every now and then, but if you find yourself in one of those, just go back to the basics. Go back to a good greeting. Go back to doing what we do.
You need a good coach for that, man. Because sometimes we can't see the picture when we're in the frame. right? How do you,
Very true.
here's a perfect example. I was on a Zoom before our training session this morning. It was a one-on-one company Zoom. This company's done a lot of business with me, and their technicians have fallen off. And the first guy that I met with, first guy that I kind of coached, there's 4 guys. First one I coached says, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm following the process. Like, I'm following it to a T every time. And, I'm just not getting the results I was getting. I did great in December, and then January came and I fell right off. And people are just not buying right now. Right. And so I asked him to perform a couple of the things. First of all, the greeting that I've given him. Right. And he went and did the greeting for me. And it was like 50% different at least than what I had shared with him to do, right? He was making up his own words. I asked him to share the surge protector presentation that we give him. It was completely different than what it was that he was coached to do, right? So in his mind, he was doing the same things, but it's kind of like the game telephone. You get away from the process slowly, and before you know it, you're doing something completely different. So it's imperative. It's imperative to have a coach that can reel you back in. I have a coach. All right. I was supposed to meet with her yesterday, but I'm meeting with her Wednesday instead. I meet with her a half an hour every week because my mind gets off track. I start to think I'm not doing that well. And she brings me back and we dissect what's been going on. And I realize how much I have accomplished. So if you don't have a coach, you might want to get into our mastermind. We twice a week, we do live training in a group setting with you. And these guys are experiencing things that they've never experienced before from an income and a success standpoint. So if you want more information about that, put mastermind down in the comments and we'll get you some more information on that. Maybe schedule a 15-minute call with me so I can get to know you and even see whether or not it could be a fit. All right. So let's get back to where Don had us. And that is when things are not going well with a call, and we get upset about it, how do we get our emotions back in check? And what I was trained to do was to get out of there for a minute. Go take 5 or 10 minutes, go out to your truck, close yourself off, turn off the phone, turn the AC on, maybe if it's in the summertime, try to get yourself comfortable. Close your eyes and say this: I'm not going to allow anything that's already happened on this call to have any effect on the outcome of the call. I didn't make these words up. They were taught to me. Okay. I'm not going to allow anything that has already happened on this call to have any effect on the outcome of the call. You take a few deep breaths and then you walk back in there like nothing bad ever happened. Watch what happens to your client's attitude. You may very well see them shift from disagreeable to relieved because they're more upset that things are not going well inside their home than you are being inside their home. You're just upset that you might not make a sale on this deal. They're upset because they're trying to get something and it's not going well. And that can be very, very frustrating. So last time, I'm not going to allow anything that's already happened on this call to have any effect on the outcome of the call. Brush it off, go back in like a new man. Whatever happens, happens. And Don, if you feel like there's no way I'm going to make this sale anyways, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, the wasted call that we often hear about is the perfect time to practice. It's the perfect time to say some words or that close or something that you've trained on, but you just hadn't quite had the guts to actually say it in front of the customer. That's kind of the funny story I said a long time, I've said many times, is that we trained for 6 months on how to handle, I want to think about it. And, our guys were like frustrated or whatever. And I said, well, how many times have you actually said this to a customer? And they said, oh, I've never used it in the field. I've never used it in front of the customer. I'm too scared to say it, even though we've been practicing it and role playing it. And it's been 6 months going back and forth. And I just said, the only thing I want you to do is I want you to, your success on this next call is, do you say this phrase? Do you actually say, is there anything that you feel is overkill or unnecessary? Right? Do you actually get the process started? And he came back in a couple hours and said, I said it. It went well. And actually made a sale that I would have walked away from. And from that point on, the person, it made a nice increase on his closing ratio from, I forget the exact number, mid 30s to low 50s. It was a nice difference in the percentage over that next month or two. Now, you just have, and on a wasted call, Dan, we're instead of saying the office screwed me on this one and I'm being sent on this crappy call, you go, this is the perfect opportunity. I have nothing to lose. I don't expect to get anything out of this. Here's my opportunity to break out that training material that I've worked on, or I've thought about, or something that I've heard. Maybe it's the return on investment close we did last time. Maybe it was, how to handle the spouse, and just say, well, let's get them on the phone, because you've not been bold enough to say, can I actually say that, right? So the wasted call is not wasted.
Closed as a result of that. All the guy changed was saying, let's go ahead and get them on the phone. And he closed 2 more deals that week than he otherwise would have.
It's wonderful. And hearing the information in the group helped start, but then being bold enough to actually say it in front of the customer, and then adjust. If it works, we kind of tweak it and keep it in there. And if it doesn't, we figure out why and we start over and try again. So it's an exciting thing when you feel like you grew, whether we sold on the call or not. You grew out of every call. And if you practice on every call before you go in and do your presentation, you will accelerate your success time. You'll accelerate the success, or you'll cut in half the time it takes you to get proficient. So many times we won't do the practice. Oh, I'm on a call. I can't take 10 minutes to actually think this through. I'm in front of the customer. They would think I'm weird if I sit in the truck for 10 minutes preparing a list. So I'm just going to wing it in front of this customer. Stay with your process, learn it, and it will pay off. Stick to the process.
I got a call yesterday. Actually, an appointment was set on my private calendar for me of a guy who listened to us on the Waste No Day podcast. We just recently did a podcast there, and he listened to it like last Thursday, and then he used the scripting that I gave them for I Want to Think About It. And since Sunday, it was Sunday and Monday. Sunday, he closed a $25,000 deal using it. And then Monday, he closed a $50,000 deal doing it. He's taken the free information that we've given him, and he is now coming to the Mansion event, March 20th through the 24th. That's our next live class. And he hit me up to get into the mastermind before that. So, and you know what's the crazy thing? The amount of commissions that he made on the free stuff is going to more than pay for his class ticket and his first 2 months worth of the mastermind. Like, just by trusting the process.
Right. Take something from these calls, go utilize it, make some money, and say to yourself, there's so much more to learn. There's so much more for being in a network that all it does is talk about sales and how to make more sales. I mean, that's what the Lead Ninja Mastermind is. It's 2 hours a week, 2 1-hour sessions, and it's constantly talking about improving your sales with more techniques, or just perfecting the techniques that you've heard about that you just aren't quite utilizing yet. Sometimes it is the same information over and over, and you go, well, why am I paying for that? Because someone needs to make sure to hold you accountable. And that's what the mastermind really is. It's levels of certification. If you put in the effort, you will get the numbers out of it that more than pay for the training. Yeah. If the training were free, wouldn't you want to be in it? And it is, when you consider that the extra items that you probably don't have the script to sell or the guts to say, once you go through the training, it'll be there. Gene?
Yeah, like on the back of that success, I've I can think of 6 guys right now that have joined the mastermind in the last year who have increased their income, personal income, by over $100,000 in personal income. Some of them, it's another $200,000 more than they made the year before in personal income. So, sometimes it seems like training is expensive. And I would say that the most expensive training is probably the best. But we start to get caught up in, let's say, $6 or $8 or $10,000, investing that in ourselves. Well, I think that it's because you're looking at it as an expense, when really it's a massive investment in you. Until you've got at least 6 figures in the bank, every dollar that you spend, outside of your necessities, really should go into growing you and your ability to earn more money, because you all have an income problem and you don't know it. And I'm not going to go into why, but you don't make enough money to retire in the time that you really want to retire. Let's say you want to retire 30 years from now, and you set $100K a year aside. None of you are doing that, but if you did, you'd only have $3 million, and you'd only be getting probably $150,000 in interest from it. And in 30 years, that's going to be nothing. It's going to be like 20 grand today, if the dollar even is still what we're using, right? So, guys, invest in yourselves. It's not an expense. It's an investment in you. And once you learn how to ride this bike, once you learn how to become an amazing communicator, it's not something that can be taken away from you. You get to keep it. So I want to encourage them, Don. I want to encourage them to come out to the March 20th through the 24th event.
And we have our history, and we cut our teeth on the HVAC, but the skill set is transferable. Plumbers use it, electricians use it. They're always looking for those little, why my trade is different. But these same skill sets could be used in selling anything. Selling any product anywhere. The skill set
I've used
works.
it to sell drones, Don.
Yeah, the skill set works. We've had solar people come to the training. I could see where it would work, like if you're just a territory rep. All of it, even just a business to business, the skill set is there. Once you get it, it's yours, and that's huge. It can go with you for any sales process. Any sales location, the process stays the same here. We sometimes have to, for ourselves, build our scripts on the fly. You're like, do you have a script to sell surge protectors? Yeah, it's in there. But sometimes you come up with a new product. We talked about the Laundry Pro today. I'm sure there's a script in there, but if you just give 2 or 3 features, 2 or 3 benefits off of the flyer that's sitting on the parts house counter for a product, you're never going to show that flyer to the customer. But if you just read that flyer, you have now got a better sales presentation if you know how to convert those into questions and engage the customer, right? So it's when you gather the information and those flyers, but you really don't share those with the customer. They're for your education. They're not for you to give to a customer and say, buy this from me. That will cut you out. They will buy it. They just won't buy it from you. And we do say that one of the purposes of our job is to make customers feel good about buying from us, right? Our job is really not to go out and get customers to buy all these products from Amazon and get their next door neighbor or a guy from the handyman from the church to put them in. Our process, our job is to get them to buy them from us, to feel good about buying them from us. And that is part of it. If you're dealing with the handyman takes, you stir up plenty of jobs and the handyman gets all the work, then you need to plan for that.
You suck
it
at
happened
sales.
In the call this yeah. You might suck at sales. I agree, but that's what our Lead Ninja Mastermind class is for. And the mansion trip, which you said is coming up. What were the dates on that trip again?
The dates are March 20th through the 24th. The 20th is a Wednesday and is one of your travel days if you're going to come down to Orlando. And then Sunday, the 24th, will be a travel day. We're going to spend 4 nights and 3 days together in a 16,000 square foot mansion called the Grand Hala Mansion. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. We'll all be staying together. You'll either have your own room or a bunk, depending on what level you participate in the training in. And you don't need to go anywhere. You don't even need a car. You can just Uber there, because once you're there, I've got you taken care of, from a private chef cooking you breakfast in the morning, omelets, bacon, all the good stuff. We'll be doing training from about 9 to 6 with a lunch break. Lunch is provided. So all of your meals, all of your housing, everything's fully taken care of. And it's a very limited event. We're about half sold out right now. And I can only take another 12 people or so. And if you need help with like payments and stuff like that, that's not a problem. We've got a variety of easy payment plans to make the right decision more affordable for you. So if you're interested in that, type mansion down in the comments and we'll get to you, or text me at 239-848-6533, 239-848-6533. I'll let you know in advance that the base ticket is $6,500. Okay. So I don't want anybody wasting any time. So if you're not worth $6,500, there's no reason to put mansion down in the comments and have us call you.
Well, doesn't that make it seem a little expensive? Because you see other people do them for half that price. You know, is it really more expensive?
Do you really want the cheap guy?
Well, there are plenty of
That's a question
trainers
I
out
asked
there.
the other day, Don. That's a question I asked the other day. And I'm going to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, first week in March as a result of that. So, like, I literally asked a contractor who was looking at an on-site with us. They were concerned about the money, and there were other people out there that were cheaper. And I just simply asked, do you really want the cheap guy? And they all laughed, and then they bought.
Yeah.
But could you ask your clients that out in the field? Do you really want the cheap guy? When was the last time you ever bought something that was the cheapest, that gave you the best service, that was the best quality, that you're super stoked about afterwards? Did you really love that Insignia TV? Like, I'm not pointing to one at their house, right? It's just a theoretical question. I don't even know where the hell we got on that subject, but guys.
Well, once you consider
you said
the training,
$6,500 is expensive or something. Go ahead.
Yeah, but once you consider that the training includes your food, your lodging, the people who are doing it for half the amount, you're going to spend just as much. When you consider you've still got your hotel room, you've still got your meals, all the stuff, and you lose out because when we're captured in one place and they're bringing food and serving us, we get to communicate and practice and script for 4 or 5 more hours a day if we want to. People who really want this get to come out of the class. I've heard it all. Now help me implement it. And that's where being all together just makes a massive difference. Is okay, this is how you implement it. This is what you learn. Now this is how we say it. And we get to that point when we have that. So it's like going to 2 other events somewhere else. You're just getting it all in one. The knowledge, the basic, the scripting, and then the implementation and the role play that the other places might not give you, or you got to go back a second time to get that. So that's why it's, for what we do, we may be the cheapest guys in the training industry for what we do.
1,000%.
You might be the cheapest guy. So,
and it's the results. There is nobody that does what we do. Nobody. And I'm telling you, there is nobody in the world. This is going to sound really, really bad, Don, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're not going to find anybody in the world that's better at not only selling IAQ, water treatment, all the stuff that you guys sell, but teaching it. There is a special skill that's required to be able to implement the way that Don and I do, and you're not going to find it anyplace else. You will not get the results anyplace else. I'm telling you, if you sell $2 million a year right now, you come to that class, and I will put another $1 million in revenue on the board for you minimum. Within the first 30 days, you'll be tracking at $3 million or 3.5. I do it all the time. Take guys from 2.7 to 5.4 in 30 days like that. There's nobody out there that can do this the way we do it.
We get a lot of comfort advisors come to the class. We get a lot of service techs who sell just service equipment or can add on or service repairs or can add on equipment. We get guys who've never been in the business a couple of months and they're running maintenance calls at the class, and they come back and make phenomenal revenue tickets from there. Obviously, plumbers, electricians, a solar guy occasionally come to the class.
Don, we had a real estate investor that came to the last one who's got a $50 million portfolio and had pages worth of notes. Pages. Was so great. He actually owns the mansion that we were training in, and he was so grateful that he had chefs come in one night and make us a $3,500 dinner on him, just as a way of saying thank you. So, guys, it doesn't matter what industry you're in.
Yeah, it was great.
You need to be here. And by the way, he asked if his wife could come this time. And so they've got another ticket to the event. And guess what he's going to do again? He said, I'm so grateful. I want to buy you guys another dinner. I want to take care of your guests. So the private chef's going to come in on Friday night and cook us all another extraordinary meal. That sea bass was to die for, was it not?
It was an incredible meal. You felt like somebody, and people look at your events, look at these events and go, man, you're staying in this 16,000 square foot mansion. You're why am I paying for all that? But really, it's the results that come out of it that you should be worrying about.
Would you rather
we could put these on? Yeah, I'm about to say you could put this on in the Holiday Inn Express and still, again, it opens your eyes, lets you know there's a whole new world out there, and you get to realize this could be your dream someday. This could be your dream to be at this level. It's a wonderful to play in that world with guys who have that kind of net worth or that kind of responsibility and things they've accomplished. So it's a great event. I look forward to it.
And it's actually cheaper for me to do it at this mansion than it would be for everybody to go to their own hotel room. And we get twice the productivity, like Don was saying. The implementation that Don helps with in the evenings and on Saturday is priceless, y'all. So like he said, we're going to train you, but then we're also going to help you with implementation before you go so that you're ready to go back and get a return on investment your very first week. And we had an installer, Alex, that came to the last one, Don. His very first week back, he sold $34,968 worth of equipment and IAQ as an installer. He's tracking at 1.7 million his first week out of the training. Yeah, as an installer. So, and Don was a huge part of that.
That sounds impossible.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's a lie. No, it's real life, and it's what happens when you're given the right tools and the blinders are taken off your eyes and you're shown what you actually can do, and that it's not complicated. It is really simple. You just have to be able to do a little bit of work. So, guys, if you want, again, if you're interested in coming out to that class, text me 239-848-6533. 239-848-6533. And for those of you who are on Apple or Spotify or something like that, listening to us on a podcast, please, will you go over, if you've got any value out of this today, will you please go over and leave us a 5-star review? Man, it would mean the world to us. And it would help to motivate us to continue to keep dropping content on you without charging you. So, Don, anything before I roll this 3-minute video that the podcasters are not going to be able to see?
Well, it's always great to get to do these trainings, get to do these conversations with you. And, when you get hit out of left field, just reset, clear your mind, go back in as if nothing happened. And if it's a wasted call, just practice. Just bring out that material. Say something that you've been scared to say. Maybe it's the right angle close. Maybe it's just repeat back to them exactly what they said. I've never done a mirror back to somebody. Perfect opportunity to just mirror them back and see what happens. You have to get your repetitions in on these skills and they become you. But perfect call. When you're on a 1 or 2%er, just realize I'm about to get to have some fun, right? I'm going to have some fun on this call because I'm going to leave here better. Whether they get me to fix their problem or not, I'm going to leave here better. So let's watch that video. Thanks, Gene.
Thanks for the summary, man. I appreciate you bringing it all together for us at the end there. Guys, here's a 3-minute video. Give you kind of an idea what you're going to experience when you come out and you do training with us. The next one is March 20th through the 24th. Shoot me a text if you want more information on that, and I'll send you over to the website /funnel and answer any questions that you've got. We can even set you up on a payment plan. Love you, ninjas. Have an amazing day. For those of you who are watching this on video, here's the next. I should probably start doing a post-hypnotic suggestion. I'll create one of those for the next one, Don. What do you think?
I like that. I like that idea. Every time you see your Facebook pop up, you're gonna remember, and you're gonna remember us and know that there's gold nuggets being thrown in Gene Slade's world.
Let's try it. Let me just see if I can make one up on the fly. Maybe I can make one up on the fly. We used to do this for the radio show. All right, y'all. From now on, every time you see us pop up in your Facebook, every time you hear our voice on one of your podcasts, I want you to think of us. And I want you to know that in less than 30 days, you can double your income, get fewer customer rejections, and have a happier wife and a happier life. Then I want you to pick up the phone and call us. Will you do that? Love you guys. Have yourself a great day.
Yeah,
Check out this video.
Thanks, man.
We'll see you next Tuesday, y'all. Bye.